Hi, I'm Ben Boyd. I'm the Global Chair of the Corporate Practice here at Edelman.
Hi, I'm Meg Owen, and I'm a Digital Marketing Analyst.
My name is Drew, and I am an Account Supervisor.
I'm Dan, and I'm a Vice President.
I grew up in a Presbyterian household with a pastor for a father, and so there was a lot of pressure to fit in and to be normal and to be straight. And I recognized that early on that there was something different, but not necessarily something that I could identify or tell people about.
I spent most of my 4th, 5th, 6th grade and junior high pretty solitary, pretty alone, always knowing that I was different but not really knowing why.
It was scary. I just tried my best to fit in. I wasn't out. I did sports. Both in high school and college, I was captain of the track team. And guys would make, gay jokes all the time, and I would join in just so that I could fit in.
During orientation of high school, it was 2 towns that came together for the first time, and I was walking around. It was, let's say it's my awkward stage where I wasn't necessarily the most attractive, definitely a little bit of a nerd, and I had some kids yelling at me, "Stop the spread of AIDS."
I remember driving up to school and our lockers were outside, and I remember a whole crowd of people standing around the lockers and wondering what that was about. And then I looked and saw there was a huge, the word fag was spray painted on the lockers and with a arrow that pointed to my locker. So I had to walk through this crowd of people to get to my locker, and I just remember feeling like if I could just disappear at that moment, I would.
I think I remember kind of writing in my diary at the time, like in code words, that I suspected I was a lesbian, as if I was confessing to myself, which is a really weird thing for a kid to do. And I remember just feeling like there was no one to talk to.
It made me want to hide who I was, and I started to hide.
I'll never forget, my dad kept a pistol in his nightstand. And there was more than one time when I actually pulled that pistol out and just thought that this was something I couldn't deal with.
Really thinking that suicide was the best way out because nobody could possibly understand what I was going through. Nobody could understand what it was like to be me.
The hardest person for me to tell that I was gay was my best friend. He was the typical kind of straight jock high school guy, and we'd been really close since junior high, and I was absolutely terrified to tell him. And I remember calling him over to my house, telling him I had something really important to tell him, that it was really, really big news, but it was really, really important. I needed him to come. So he came to my house, and I remember kind of beating around the bush, and I finally told him that I was gay, and he kind of laughed at me and said, that was the news? And he said, "I thought you were going to tell me something like you were dying or you had cancer or something really, really horrible." He's like, "That's not a big deal." And I just remember in that moment, everything felt better.
A whole new world opened up for me. One of the very first things I did was take the on-campus tour sponsored by the LGBT club. And I remember one of the new friends that I had met there asked me when I told her that, "Well, aren't you afraid that they're going to think that you're gay?" And for the first time in my life, I had the power to just say, "I am."
Even after all the fights and never talking about it, I went over to his house and I said, "Dad, we can't keep doing this. I'm your only son. I love you, and we've lost so many years."
It's time and it's steps, and sometimes those steps are really hard, but you just have to take the next one. And I think that you find that the subsequent ones just get easier and easier, and all of a sudden you're not just stepping, you're flying.
My grandfather was probably the person that I was the most afraid to talk to about. He was a little on the older side and definitely very conservative being in Houston. So when I finally did have that conversation with him, the first thing he said to me was, "Are you happy?" And then after that he said, "As long as you'll still go to lunch with me every Saturday that you're in town," he said, "we don't have a problem and I love you."
Life became easier, and I was able to live a consistent life and surround myself with people that cared about all of me, not just parts of me that some people knew and others didn't.
Of course, there were moments along the way when you're feeling so depressed and so desperate and so bullied that you're just thinking you don't know if you can take this anymore. And I'm always so glad that I hung on and didn't do anything to myself, because I think you have no way of comprehending at that age of what you're going to miss.
3 years ago, I met a woman in New York City, and 5 months ago, I married her. And I would have missed out on seeing all my friends and family stand up with us as we made our commitment to each other.
I never would have been able to really share my life with my family and really become myself, which was the most important part of coming out, was that I could be myself in front of everybody.
I have an amazing husband, I have an amazing home, I have a job that I love. We have a dog and 2 cats who live like a very normal existence, and we're even now adopting a child.
We all go through hardships and we all face ignorance, but there are really beautiful moments that are worth sticking around for.
Your feelings are not weird, they are not abnormal, there's nothing at all wrong with you.
You may not be in a place where it's safe to come out to everyone. You should definitely try to find someone who you trust, who you can confide in, and who you can go to if days ever get really dark.
You're not alone, so don't feel alone. Know that we're out there. Know that we want to, be there to support you, and that we will.
Right now is the worst it's ever going to get, but it will get better. And if you can get through right now, you'll find that there's a big community that loves you and is waiting to embrace you.
It gets better.
It gets better.
It gets better.
It gets better.
It really, really, really does get a lot better.